Greetings. I hope this finds you well. We are going to use a topic, do some research, and show you how to do a proper thesis statement. Now, this thesis statement is for the final argument paper, not for the short paper that you're doing for this week. So, just to be clear, your other paper has very specific directions, so please make sure you're following the directions for the correct paper. This one is for the discussion board. So one of the things that you can do in Google and on the school database, which I'll show you a little bit of that in a minute, is use what we call Boolean phrases, and that just connects things or says what you don't want. So if I wanted to find something with homeschool, and you can see that nothing's popping up here, it's because I don't have the suggestions on. And then, and public school. So what this would do was pull up stuff that is in the same article, things that are in the same article that are related to public school and homeschool. So if I hit enter, this actually has the ultimate showdown. Now it doesn't necessarily mean this would be something that's credible to use, which credibility is discussed in a different video. How homeschooling will change public education. So you've got all kinds of stuff. Now, you can, let me see if I see one of them. This doesn't have any, but I can actually put the file type too. And one of the things that you will notice is that usually if you're looking for like a credible source, or if you're looking for news, you can use this. If you, it would be a web page. If you're looking for a document, I know that a lot of times some of the peer-reviewed journal articles are in PDF, so I'm going to choose PDF, and you're going to see this stuff, cited by 5, right? Anytime you see cited by, that usually means there's something in there that's worth looking at. Now, this is 2017. This is 2. Scroll down here and see if there's more. Yeah, cited by 7. Now the more that have cited it, usually it's older, but not necessarily. So you can see how you can find plenty of sources on here. Now you don't even have to put in PDF. I could have just, if I wanted to write that homeschooling is better than public schooling, then I could just do a simple search here. So the next thing that I want to show you is the school online database. So if you go to MyPath, you will see lots of links, obviously, but the library is also on here. And there are a few different ways that you can go into the library to do your research. One of the ways is the main, well, we have to get to our school first, the main search box. So I could actually put in homeschool, and sometimes homeschool is written as one word, sometimes it's 2 words. So that, like, the difference between this and this would be 2 different searches. So I might try it both ways to see what pops up. So when I click it in the main box on the library page, I'm going to get quite a few things. Now the advanced search will let you do a lot of different things, and you also know that it tells me to sign in. So I have to sign in to see some of this stuff. Now, one of the things that you can do in here, you can do open access. That means that you can access it anywhere on the web. You don't have to worry about, this will exclude it. So that means leave it out. But that means that it's just open stuff free to the public. The peer-reviewed journal articles, these are the ones that we subscribe to at the school. And then you can do some stuff available online. I mean, there are all kinds of different limiters here that you can do. If I wanted to focus on children, which is really what happens, or if I want to do parenting and homeschool, I could do that as well. And it just keeps going forever. So the resource type, I could do articles, let's see, news on it, journals, and government documents. Let's do web sources too and just show you. There's also people who've done dissertations on it, so that's pretty cool. That's when you're in your doctoral work, and they have a lot of sources in those that you have to use while you're doing your dissertation. So if you could find a good dissertation on homeschooling, you can actually use some of the sources in there and look those up as well. So, I mean, it's pretty simple to do the searches. You just, it's pretty intuitive. Um, and you can also do dates and stuff, but right now we're just going to focus on this. I'm going to hit search and it's going to show you. Now, this is open access, so I can actually get to it without signing in up here into my account. It's called Flipped Education Transitioning to the Homeschool Environment. So it says available online. Sometimes this will look a little bit different when you are logged in, but it's really close. So it says full text availability. So I'm going to click that. It's going to take me hopefully to this article. There it is. I have my first source. Now, when you look at this, it has the abstract, which is a summary of that article, right? Here is the location online. Um, it's like an address, like your home address, sort of, except this one is online in DOI. Not every article has a DOI location, but this one does. This one actually has a PDF, but the full article is showing up here. So if you were going to use this as a source, you would copy the link at the top of your page and you would have um, your link to your source that I usually require. There's a whole article, lots of stuff in here. So if I wanted to use that, that would be great. I'd find, I might even find a few more. It depends on the assignment. And I do a little brainstorming. So one of the things that I can't just do is homeschool right or wrong? Because the pro-con argument is really for younger students, not college level students. So please stay away from yes or no, right or wrong, pro or con. You really want to focus on something specific. And I'm going to kind of show you something with homeschool to show you how to do that. Now, an easy way to do this is to look up Thesis Generator. And what you're going to see at the very top of Google. Now, I know that there are other search engines, but Google picks this up at the very top. The UAGC is one of those tools that you can use. It's going to look interesting, like it's going to tell you exactly what to do. Okay, and if you follow the directions perfectly, you are going to be able to generate a college level thesis statement for the argument paper. So what I'm going to argue is that homeschooling is better than public school, not necessarily for or against homeschooling or public school, but I'm going to make the argument that it's better. Okay, so this is just the topic, and I'm just going to put homeschool box. Okay. Now, and I don't like when it does that, so I'm actually going to separate that. Such an English teacher. It is written both ways depending on who's writing it, and I'm not quite sure why. So anyway, we're just going to move along. So this says, what are you trying to state or prove about your topic? Well, I'm making the argument that one is better than the other. So who am I saying should do something, right? Because this is I'm trying to generate a rough draft of my thesis statement. And I think parents should choose homeschooling over public schooling. Okay, so I've got my should statement there. I worded it exactly the way they did. So if you think funding should be devoted to something, if you think more services are needed in something like mental health or dental stuff, then who should do that? So government should fund, the American Dental Association should develop more policies in blah 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 area. So you get the idea. It's who should do something and what should they do is in here. So mine is parents should choose homeschooling over public schooling. Write your reason as a clear statement. Now this is a reason that homeschooling is better than public schooling. Why should parents choose it over the other? Okay, because, and I'm going to put homeschool because it is undefined. It's really an undefined pronoun. But I mean, you don't have to worry about that. You can use it in your rough draft, or you can replace it with what it is. And I choose to replace it with what it is. So homeschool, let's put homeschoolers, um, let's see, homeschooled children score higher on standardized tests in core subjects. So, and that leaves it open to math, science. It's really STEM. I could even put in STEM topics or STEM subjects, right? I'm sorry, I'm doing this on the fly. So to show you how easy it is. So they do better standardized tests um, in STEM subjects. So the science, technology, engineering, and math. Okay, so then I'm talking about homeschoolers, um, go to college at a higher rate. I have no idea if that's true, but we're going to use it. Than children in public schools or children that graduate from public schools, right? Okay, then one more reason could be, could be that homeschool children can work at the pace that's best for them. You know, like in public school, you're on a schedule. In homeschool, if you need more time on math, you can take more time. Now, remember, this is a rough draft. So, what I would do with a rough draft is use that to do my research and decide if I can keep those points. So, on this one, including an opposing viewpoint for your main idea. This is the opposite view. This is like, what do they say to people who want to homeschool to tell them not to, right? And I know that it's socialization. Um, Children may lack proper, which I don't believe that, but you can get socialization by doing other things. Okay, so they may lack proper socialization. So we're going to see how I did. Now remember, it'll have to be cleaned up. This is just a tool, so we went through all the steps for a thesis statement. And now it says we have it. So while homeschooled children may lack proper socialization, parents should choose homeschooling over public schooling because homeschooled children score higher on standardized tests in STEM subjects. They go to college at a higher rate than children in public schools, and homeschooled children can work at the pace that's best for them. So it really, and of course, if you get some of the statements wrong, you just have to clean it up until it makes sense. A thesis statement for that final paper is going, and the reason I give this to you early is because um, this is, sometimes if you're in a summer class, you need this information early, but knowing it early can help you make plans. Now, if you chose a narrow topic for a first paper, perhaps there's a summary paper in the class or some other type of shorter paper where you're focused in on a smaller topic. It may fit under the umbrella of a bigger topic, so don't discount it. Um, Try to think about how could that fit into a bigger picture. So if I'd focused on, hey, homeschool children score higher on standardized tests in these areas, then I could have come back and said, okay, how can I use that for an argument? Well, I could say that they should choose it. You know, parents should choose homeschooling over public schooling. So it's a little simpler than people make it out to be. And it's also more complicated sometimes than people make it out to be. So the reason that I do it this way is because if you look at this thesis statement, you really have an outline for your paper. If you think about it, you've got the introduction of what homeschooling is, maybe how many people in the U.S. homeschool, and so on. And you can't use this topic in this class because it's used for demonstration. But then you might have one section called standardized tests, right? And you can even take off STEM subjects. You could actually say homeschool children score higher on standardized tests. And that whole section could cover which standardized tests do they do better on. The ones in school, the ones for college, like pre-admission tests like ACT and SAT. So you could break that even further down under that heading. And then they go to college at a higher rate. You could put, college bound or call it something like that and talk about how homeschoolers go to college at a higher rate and what's the rate of public schools. And you can even focus in on a couple states like Kentucky and Tennessee. So there are different ways to do this. And then homeschool children can work at the pace that's best for them. And then you would just want to talk about how, even in schools, if children are allowed to work at their own pace, how much more successful are they and stuff like that. So the thing is that once you do research, you may have to change some of your points, but you can see how nicely they could actually just plug in to where you were. You could just pluck this one out and put in a new point that you think will work better because you can find the data on that. So, say you were going to do a topic on, let's see, something common like school uniforms. Okay. So school uniforms is one of those topics on procon.org. I do not want students using that website. I know that I mentioned in some of my videos, and then suddenly I have all these topics that are exactly like the ones on there. If you haven't heard of it, it's worth looking up, but you cannot use that the way that it's written in there. You have to narrow it. For instance, if you're going to do something on school uniforms, you might talk about um, the need for school uniforms in um, in a poor school in um, lower income areas of New York. So you see how I went very narrow with that, and then you can open it up. Like if that's too narrow and you can't find information on it, you would talk about maybe a state, New York and Illinois, or something like that. So you really have to think about, how do I make this college level? And if you're in high school, you can use the same method. So it does. Now some teachers do not like this type of setup for a thesis statement. I had one colleague who commented on that during a meeting one time, and I do like it because whether you know how to write a good essay or whether you don't know how to write a good essay, this really sets you up for structural success in terms of the way you set your paper up. So I hope that this video helped you. Remember that thesis statements are extremely important. They are what sets you up for success, and you are not tied to them when you do a rough draft of a thesis statement. Okay, not tied to it at all. I hope this little session helped. If you need more information on research, there's other research out there. You can also use our database search and use, if you are at Sky, you can get a hold of a library or tutor. You just ask a librarian or tutor over here. And if you're not, your website for your school probably has the same exact opportunities. It would just be in a different place. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing everybody's thesis statements down the road on the final paper. Have a good day.